Hey there folks, and welcome to the GT7 Showcase of Update 1.69. I have 10 new engine swaps, but we're starting from the lowest to the highest with the first 5 on the list. So starting with the engine swap you can get from the Julia GTA M 2020. Which you can turn around and put it finally into the Julia Sprint GT Ballas 1967. About time. But yeah, the last time you were able to put engine swap is the K24A Civic. But we are going to the Grand Valley Highway 1 at basically a custom race. And this custom race is the GT race. Yeah, I decided to do a 200 mile per hour setup for this one. But yeah, as the saying goes, if you want to see the stats, make sure to look at the screenshots and stuff. As the saying goes. But the Julia Sprint, with its 400 horsepower, is a very uncontrollable kind of machine at the end of the day. And it's probably due to the fact that the weight balance is out of whack with this big old motor at the end of the day. Because yeah, back then when I said the Julia should have the Julia motor instead of the K24, I might take that back. I think the Julia with the Julia motor is probably not a great thing to have at the end of the day. Because as you can see there, it took me a bit to turn about there, because turning is not great with this car. Because I'll just say this, you're going to have to do a lot of suspension rework and a lot of weight balance to counteract the problems that the car now has with this bigger motor. It really offsets the whole balance, so to speak. So as a result, you're going to have to do a lot of tuning when it comes to this one. So yeah, I'll definitely have to say it's a C. But it's a very solid C though, because what you get in return is a very fast car in return. So I don't think it's not the worst, but it's definitely up there in terms of, yeah, you're definitely going to have to do a lot of tuning management to make it suitable to your needs for get any control out of that Julia at the end of it. But for a alternative to the Julia, I guess it's technically not a bad one at the end of the day. In terms of the fuel burn, as you can see there, it's already kind of just hitting half as of right now. Yeah, we started like 2 laps in. We are just doing the 3 laps around at the end of the day, so I could shorten the, the talk about more to the car than something else off to the side like I did the last one. So I say. So yeah, so I decided to cut the footage a bit on some of the instances I did the testing with the cars at the end of it. And the Julia Sprint GTB here is not a bad car with the Julia motor, but it's not the greatest. I probably recommend something else with the Julia motor at the end of the day, but it's a choice. It's definitely a choice. As such. But yeah, in terms of the highest fuel costing kind of vehicle here, you have to look at the Viper and Corvette, and yeah, that's not too far. That's about a quarter away from the Corvette, so that's a good sign. So it definitely lasts us for a good bit in this car. Cause yeah, I will say the good part, sticking a big motor into a small car could technically equal more fuel at the end of the day. So giving the Julia, that big old Julia, gives you technically more fuel in return, because with a lighter body you don't have to put a whole lot of horsepower down to achieve that 200 miles per hour, but you do get less acceleration than what you would probably get normally with the regular Julia. So, oh, and of course control and stuff. That's things. But yeah, this is basically my cars from the GT. So, I hope you enjoy looking at what you see here. Cause yeah, this is gonna be straight up Gran Turismo 1 roster of cars here, as you see here. I say loosely because yeah, some cars aren't technically like straight up from Gran Turismo 1, but they're close enough. They count. They can count in my book. So especially the Viper. The Viper's 2002. The Viper in Gran Turismo 1, I think, is like 1995. So there's examples like that. And then I think the NSX Type R is debatable because I'm pretty sure it's a Sub-Zero Type 1 or whatever it's called. It's a very special model that I feel like Gran Turismo should still add at the end of the day, just for, Here's the production model, here's the special model. Because I will say, the biggest problem I have about them adding just the NSX Type Rs, the NSX was more known for its normal model than the Type R. I'll just say that. On that matter. Type R was a special spec model for in case you want that extra lightweight and horsepower and stuff, you know? So I would recommend that they turn around and add the sub Type Z or whatever it's called. It's a very weird name for that one and such. But yeah, the Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint with the Giulia motor is an okay ideal, but I gotta say, and I gotta admit, I think the Honda K motor is better. I was terribly wrong about this choice when it comes to that. Because yeah, I've been learning more and more of what kind of motor should be applied to a car at the end of the day, and this ain't it, Captain. This is just not one of them. It's something, but it's if I have any recommendation, probably lower speed than 200 here. 200 is very tight for this car, and then any higher, I can't really suggest that. Really, that's just really bad performance overall. So if you have to compare it to a high end at that rate, that would not be a great decision. If there's anything you're getting good out of this, is fuel mileage, as the saying goes, and probably hidden acceleration that the Giulia normally has. Although I really haven't really tested the regular Giulia, and I kind of really should have, because I'm a lazy butt. But yeah, I'll just say this: I think the Giulia Sprint is probably going to be one of the lowest ones in terms of the Engineswaps to technically do at the end of it. It's an interesting choice, but I don't think it's just a good choice at the end of it. It's something. I'll give it that. And just hitting the finish line here, so we get on to the next car. That thing goes. I'll just let Giulia go at it at the end of it, because yeah, that I do love the Giulia at the end of it. So the Giulia is a pretty good, solid car. It's just the motor choice makes it very front heavy, so you probably have to do some weight balancing and stuff, and then tweak the other such. But now on to the next car, which the next car is very interesting, which is the Ford Focus Grade B rally car for Engineswap. And this Engineswap is a very interesting one, which is the Ford Focus ST with the Focus Grade B motor, which we are going to go to Trail Mountain on a custom race that I also made. Replace it which is the GTX. Welcome to the GTX, so to say. But the Ford Focus ST with the Focus Grade B motor is a very interesting case, because you kind of wonder what happens if the rally car maintain its whole FF drivetrain, because yeah, the ST has the FF drivetrain, so this kind of makes sense why they did this Engineswap at the end of it, because you kind of wonder, like, what if you turn around and did that instead, so to say. And the result is you get basically this, which is, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of slow, as it only does like 2 minutes around Trail Mountain at the end of it. So it's kind of just a subpar, but then again, I'm also not surprised, and then again, I'm also astounded too, because for an FF, it doesn't technically. This one is one of those cars that doesn't freak out when it hits a high horsepower point. Because shockingly, the Focus can handle a lot. The Focus ST specifically can handle a lot of horsepower and return, so as a result, you could do a 200 mile per hour build. But I'll just say this, as the usual saying goes, for every FF that kind of just hits that mark, they're usually not that good, so I'll just say that in advance, but it still will try to do some over torque steering, I will say, so probably would recommend putting the front down on suspension while the back higher up, because you have to give that dragster appeal, so to say, to handle all that horsepower that's overblowing at the end of the day. Because yeah, that's basically what happens when an FF gets so much horsepower. It starts blowing it. So as a result, you spin out the front wheels way more than it should. You can't turn worth a crap, and other such. That's our other biggest problem when it comes to that. And the only way to kind of somewhat fix that is, well, of course, lowering the horsepower would be the one case. So basically just straight up just tell us that, yeah, you're not supposed to ever put horsepower this high for an FF like this. Example. There is certain FFs I will slide though, but this is one of those cases where it's just, it kind of just says, yeah, you probably just put too much into the car at the end of the day. But the thing is though, it's the Focus Grade B motor, so therefore, I kind of let it slide a bit on this one at the end of the day. And as you can tell from the actual Grade B rally car, because yeah, I have the actual Grade B rally car, it has half the fuel amount. The ST, when we get back to it, yeah, it has a bit more, or what's a bit more there? I hope it has a bit more. We'll get back to the ST here, let's see. But yeah, basically these are all contenders I have put together at the end of the day, which is Grade 4s, rally cars, and special cars with race car motors, so to say. This is something I've been trying to cook up since then, in terms of the GTX experiment, so to say. But yeah, GTX is a nod to the GTX program, racing program that was way back, where they basically took higher powered Grade 4 cars against each other. See if there was a way to make a hybrid division in between Grade 4 and Grade 3 at the end of the day. I don't know if it's still around. I assume it kind of failed at the end of it. But I just know there is some cars here that are basically a lot more modified than they should be. Considering I even figured out that Grade 4 Mustang can't go 200 miles per hour. That still gets me every time, as the thing goes. But it's not just, you know, Grade 4 cars, so to say. I also took rally cars, because rally cars, there's always been this whole debacle between Grade 4 and rally cars. Like, which one was kind of just the faster unit of the said group, because they both hit in terms of the same pace, but they are overall faster. But as you can see, there is a trade-off for being that much faster. And that would be the fuel cost, because as you can see on each of the rally cars here, each one of them is pretty low in terms of fuel management, so to say, and such. Also, yeah, I don't know why the 155 is there. Just to say that 155, it can't hit 200 miles per hour either. You want to know what's crazy about the DTM, by the way. So I am definitely going to have to put that down in the sports speed eventually, but for now I'm going to do historics when it comes to the sports speed side of things. But as of the 200 mile per hour GTX, this is basically what it is. But yeah, the Focus ST, as you can see on the fuel though, it's at half, which is really good, I gotta say. That's very incredible in regards. So yeah, there is a good trade-off for subpar speed, is that you definitely get better fuel at the end of the day. In a motor that is basically literally the same motor that's in the other Grade B rally car, so you get a sort of different result, which that's what I wanted to show when it came to this one at the end of the day, because it was very interesting. Like, it was a very interesting comparison, you know. So considering the Pojo has like not much fuel left, as you see. Also, I love how wild that Pojo gets. Good God, on that turning. Just whiplash the car, would you? That was always a crazy little machine. I was like, there comes that one. But yeah, the Ford Focus ST with the Grade B rally motor is a very interesting ideal, I'll say. But definitely a bit higher than the Giulia, because unlike the Giulia, you don't have to do a heavy suspension rework or understandings to make it better. Where the Focus is just a tad bit better, and it did a minute 58, so eventually it broke the 2-minute mark. So that's pretty good overall. Like I said, yeah, Ford Focus ST, a pretty good machine, I think. It's just I'm gonna have to do a bit more understanding on that one. But now on to the next machine in terms of an Engineswap you can get from, which is the 911 Turbo S 992 2020. We're starting with one of the new cars we just got, which is the 911 Turbo S Flex Fuel. You're going to go to the World Touring Car 800 at Mount Panorama Motor Racing Circuit. And I decided to try a different tryouts I've been experimenting on, which is the 275 mile per hour tryouts with this car. So this car is jacked to all heck. It's 275 miles per hour potentially. Which in other words, when I say that, on the down incline it hits 250. So in order to hit that 275, it's still going to need a draft at the end of it. But on a norm flat out straight, it can get close to 250. But yeah, the Porsche 911 Turbo S Flex Fuel. I just said that right, or is it light babe? I don't know. But anyways, the 911 Turbo S, this car with the DKH 911 motor is a very fantastic motor, by the way, because basically, here's the thing when it comes to that GTX, I will mention too, there are some cars that get exceptions when it comes to what cars are going to be entered, because as you saw a Volkswagen Beetle with a 911 motor, and that 911 motor is not a racing motor, because Porsche 911s are already kind of just built in mind for racing, I will say. So, just to say, those are one of the exceptions of motors when it comes to that. There's going to be other interesting contenders too that's going to hit that mark as well, because it wasn't just the 911 that pulled the whole racing style of endurance. And it kind of just shocks me at the end of the day when it comes to that too, because it's like, okay, so Mustang eats fuel like no tomorrow, Corvette eats fuel tomorrow, but the Porsche 911 can just, drive as fast as its racing comparison can go at the end of the day. So, well, except for this one. This one's like jacked all hell, because they're hitting like 902 horsepower. Holy moly. And yeah, no lean either. This is like full jacked. Full jacked, and I think I had to pit at, I think the 5th or 6th lap. I will note I had to slap on racing hard tires, because the biggest problem when you hit high speeds with a road car like this is that wheel spin. And when I say wheel spin, I mean overpowered wheel spin, because yeah, the problem with rear drive cars when they hit this high horsepower efficiency is that they eventually begin to tear out their rear wheels like no tomorrow as a result. That's why when it comes to like the Bugatti in terms of high horsepower and stuff, or just like high, going for that track record, so to say, you need to have a high grip kind of tire compound at the end of the day. Or you get this matter where the tires eventually just burn out at one point. I will say, unlike the Mazda RX-7 Infiniti one with the 787B motor, these tires ain't gonna burn as bad as something like that, so say. Because the acceleration's more lenient, because Porsche knows how to keep their acceleration low and steady when it comes to the motors and stuff. It's almost like their motors are really freaking good. And they really are. So there's actually a reason why there's a hefty price tag to them most of the cases they're presented. And such. I'm not saying as a Porsche bias, but I'm just saying as a performance though, Porsche has always been known as that crazy automotive out there in terms of performance. They're fantastic when it comes to making race-bred machines while not being race-bred machines, so to say. And this is a prime example, as I took an old 911 Turbo S of like, I don't know, what was it, year 1992, and I stuck a modern Porsche motor, and it basically won this at the end of the day. Now, was it definitely going to win this because it hit 275 miles per hour? Yes. But still, though, that's still crazy. It still did it at the end of the day. I will note if I slapped it on 250 miles per hour, I would then turn around and use the race medium. So either way, still get it. I think, for the most part. But yeah, in terms of contenders here, we have the Porsche 911 GT3R, funny enough. Speak of Well, I don't know if that one has the motor or not. That's the weird part when it comes to that race one. Because I don't think it has the DKH. I think it has like an M90 or M30 or something like that. It's very weird on that one. But yeah, the 911 Turbo S is a very fantastic machine overall with the DKH motor. So if you want a good engine swap, if there's anything I will suggest though, of course, is suspension work. That's basically the biggest thing when it comes to this, but otherwise, yeah, this is a fast freaking machine. If you want a fun time, basically. So look how loose it is in the back, like good god. I will say you do have to be very gentle on the steering, otherwise you will lose control. But yeah, with the DKH motor, just holy crap, this thing is crazy, man. I mean, look at that, freaking wheelie. That was a freaking wheelie there. Just fantastic. It's definitely a machine to have fun and enjoy at the end of the day. Bit out of control, but bit out of control in a good way, you know. So yeah, here's to the 911 Turbo S Lightbow. But yeah, apparently it's called Lightbow. Or Lightbow. I think it's Lightbow. But 911 Turbo S Lightbow after checking the pronunciation stuff. So here's to that. Now on to a big one. A very big one for Engineswaps, which is coming from the McLaren F1 GTR race car. Oh boy. Which the cars that can get this engine swap is the 650S McLaren, and another one that shocks me the most, which is the Lexus LFA 2010. So we are going to go to the World Touring Car 700 at Le Mans for the McLaren 650S. So yeah, as you see there, this is probably going to be the most controversial engine swap period when it comes to engine swaps, because this is probably now the most expensive engine swap period, and we have two cars that accept this engine at the end of the day. We have the 650S, which, you know, kind of makes sense, but I will say I do kind of understand why the Lexus also has it, and the Lexus. Because the reason why I understand why the Lexus has it, because the 650S, as I will say here in dead on truth, the 650S is not a supercar. It's a high-end car at best for me. So as a result, when I looked at the performance of even trying to hit 250 with this car, it wasn't gonna make it happen at the end of the day. There happened. I mean, I probably could do it. Here's the thing, but I just don't think it'll be great overall. Period. On that. So yeah, the 650S with the McLaren F1 GTR is not a really good one, and I wouldn't really suggest it. If you have the money, or if you're just made of money, go ahead, I guess. 10.1 million, please. When it comes to this engine swap, because holy crap, when I saw that, my mind exploded, because I have been really great on the whole money earned, so as a result, I need to also grind within this whole week and a half break I did. So yeah, as a result, I had to turn around and grind for both this motor and the other motor for the LFA, and then as of right now, I'm also grinding even more just to have money in the pocket for the next time this so happens to happen at the end of that, because good lord, 10.1 million is a big old chatter cut on ya at the end of it. And especially with all these shitty events that Grand Turismo has been adding stuff with not really good enough pays, sucks. It really sucks, because you have to basically go back and go do the old ones, like example, this one here, because this is still like one of the best paying ones when it comes to money earned. Unless you do some shitty exploit or some butt crap that I freaking despise, and I will despise you for the rest of my life if I ever hear you doing an exploit of that magnitude, because I hate that exploit. Which, what exploit I'm referring to is the customized exploit where you down gear a Red Bull X212 to oblivion, and you take the most craptastic kind of car that gives you enough money, which in this case like a Fiat 500 with a Honda K engine swap, I believe. Or the Abor, I think it's the Abor 500. But either one, and then you just outspeed the Red Bull cars because the gears are so tight as a result, and you do it on some kind of endurance track at the end of the day, because that's the only way you're gonna beat them at the end of the day. And stuff. And that's what exploiters do on that measure. That's all. But yeah, the McLaren 650S with the F1 GTR is something, but I don't recommend this at all. This kind of actually almost killed me to stop doing Engineswaps, period, because of this stupid reason. Because good lord, is this engine not worth 10.1 million whatsoever. I don't care where it comes from. And the best part, where it comes from is a BMW, not McLaren. So the fact that it has this over-glorification of fucking money tied to it is really bullshit. I don't care if it's a race material motor at that rate. That's just a collectible. You just slapped a collectible into a car. At the end of the day, that's just not really good, you know. But now onto the real race though, because yeah, I decided to just do one lap with the McLaren 650S because, to be honest, it's just the endurance you get to do with that. However, the Lexus LFA is the better one I would recommend doing that engine swap on, because it allows it to be pushed into grade 3 without any too bad on the tire wear, as you see here, because I'm about to pit in the next lap given here in this track. But yeah, the Lexus LFA tuned to 250 miles per hour, while the 650S was tuned to 350 kilometers per hour, or 217 miles per hour for you US's there. Which I'm a US too, so yeah. That's English. But the Lexus LFA is probably the best one in terms of engine swaps. And I say loosely because of that ridiculously high cost at the end of the day. If it was like 5 mil, that would have been fine. But this is the McLaren we're talking about. McLaren has been the worst kind of case of money. Really bad, because McLaren is one of those collectors kind of cars. They're not, well, they are high performance. They're just really just collector's cars at the end of the day. And I hate to say that because I love the design of McLaren F1. It's a hallmark when you look at that car. It's holy crap. It's just the problem is it's tied to a money laundering scheme within Haggerty at the end of the day. Because they'll one look at this car and jump it up to $20 million for like not a good reason at all, or $30 million for the worst case scenario because of over-glorification that this car serves under at the end of the day. And that's my biggest problem about the McLaren F1 and why I don't like that car very much as I used to did. So sad. Because yeah, I will say the McLaren F1 is still like one of my most favorite cars. It's just the astounding cost that tied to that car is absurd, and I don't like it one bit. Because I think every car should have a affordable means, but this car gets that special privilege of being $20 million, even though that motor, that very same motor that's in that car, is a BMW motor. Just to say, just retuned and repackaged. So yeah, that's the biggest bullshit when it comes to that motor. That's and why I don't really like the developer as much as I do now. Very much, because all he basically did was high tune the motor, slap the gold plate in it, and put some fans in it, because he still had the whole fan technology behind his brain at the end of the day. Nice job. That saying goes. Anyways, that'll be like $10 to $20 million, please. On a car that came from the freaking 90s, by the way. And when I say 90s, I mean late 90s, because that's the F1 GTR. So yeah, like I said, over glorification. And here's the thing: collectibles can exist, but there is a thing what we like to call absurdity. And this absurdity has grown big nowadays when it comes to world impacts and stuff, concerning Pokemon scalping cards or just anything else that's just fanboy, overglorious, and costs and stuff. And the McLaren F1 is that very shitastic example, so to say. Because while, like I said, I love that machine, but I hate what everything stands around it at the end of the day. And that even the creator himself, believes this is how it should cost too. I'm sorry, I don't think it should cost that much. I don't care where you come from that. It used to been like 1 to 2 mil for that car, I believe, and now it's jacked up to like 10 to a. Well, fuck, it's past 10 times. I think it's like, fuck, I think it's almost 20 times now. I think it's about to hit like $40 million in some cases and stuff. Because yeah, I will say there is a limit as of now when it comes to the auction thing. So there'll probably be one day, which they have been itching to want to do it. So be prepared, people, that the McLaren F1 might increase price sometime sooner or later. There's been a lot of big itches I noticed on the update notes I've been looking at and stuff, and they keep mentioning about the auction prices increasing. When is it? That's my question. And when are you guys gonna do it to ruin the game even further? Because a lot of people ain't gonna take that at all. I mean, it's already bad enough with the whole, Sony shit. So, considering the president literally just said that the PlayStation is literally just a shit box with no games. Congrats! You just shamed every last remaining hope for the hopers over the copers at the end of the day, when it comes to that. But yeah, the Lexus LFA with the McLaren F1 GTR motor is a very solid motor overall. I just don't think it's worth 10.1 million. You're better off buying like 3.8 for the Mazda 787B motor over this thing. Period. I will say it is kind of cool though that you turn around and turn the LFA into a racing machine. Something you can, which the vinyl is a reference to. My vinyl is a reference to the Nürburgring endurance racer that Lexus did way back. Well, technically Toyota too. Basically the GR Gazoo racing program. If you don't know about that, the LFA turned around and created that at the end of the day. That's probably like one of the best things that came out of the LFA, period. Besides being also an over-glorified high-end car. Because to me, the LFA is not a supercar. It's an over-glorified high-end. To me. I hate to say that. But where the performance stands when it comes to the games in general, it's always been that kind of high-end car. It's never really kind of hit that supercar performance to me. At all. Because of its fast fuel drain, it's heavy, and it's never been very good on aerodynamics and stuff. And I think that's where Toyota has always fallen flat on, is that they can't seem to derive the aerodynamics of a Porsche's case to the car at the end of it. And that's what people want. They want a crazy corner machine, something like the Porsche 911 would hit and stuff, compared to its GT3 cousin. And that's what not a lot of automotives are not getting at the end of the day when it comes to making a super base kind of car. In order to make a super base kind of car, you need to beat something like GT500 at the end of the day. And when I say GT500, I mean GT3, because there's one funny thing I did notice throughout this race. I had the NSX as the leader this time. That was actually pretty cool there. Not gonna lie. But yeah, if you're gonna make a supercar, it needs to be a GT3 machine. Plain and simple. To me. It could be a bit faster. It could be like 250 over its 350 because I will say GT3s only hit about 350 at best. 200 on the norm they sit at right now, but 350 for the higher ups. But 250 is where I'm gonna go at for this card because I have a thing in the future called the Element Editions and stuff. But yeah, that basically wraps up for this first part of the Engineswaps there, people. I'll see you guys all next time. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen here. And until then, ciao. Take care, people.